protecting the sensitive resources of Helm's Deep Cave, or gaining the worst kept secret in tag. And Jim, this will be
That works.
forward, backwards. Well, we'll find out. Oh, pointer? Yeah, the pointer's there, but if you want to feel an agreement, there's that.
All right, well, thanks. I have very little to do with Helm's Deep Cave compared to some of these other people in the room. And I promise not to talk as long as Jim Smith. Yeah, these guys have spent years, many trips working on the cave. I got called in kind of in an odd way. We'll talk about this. Okay, your board is not, it's working on here, it's not working on the pointer.
It's working there. Well, no, it's not working.
Okay, let me just do it manually.
They have screwed up.
Okay, so this all started. Here's the arrows.
Yeah, but it's not working on the screen. It's not what issue is.
Oh, it's not advancing. Bob Hope. Oh, we restart the presentation. Okay. Sorry, please stand by.
It's not your fault.
Experiencing technical difficulties.
Can't find
The mouse icon needs a cursor.
piece of shit, isn't it? Oh, it's mine.
Your piece of shit? Oh, wait, something moved. Go back. Let me do that. Keys work? Keys work. Okay, so basically one day I'm out doing something and I get this message. Okay, I want to talk to you about cave gate. I'm like, okay, I have no idea who this guy is. I have no idea what he's talking about. But I said, sure, we can talk. And so we did. And he said he had a cave in Tennessee, and he said that, he's interested in putting a gate on it. So I said, well, when I get back home, we'll work on it. Send me some information. He said, okay, I got some guys doing some survey, and, I'll talk with them, we'll get you some stuff. So, whoops, went the wrong way now. So, I get this. And it said, okay, this is about where we were thinking of putting the gate, about, these are about the dimensions and so on. It's like, okay, I can work with this. It'd be better if I had some more images and so on, but, we can do this. And so I figured out we're going to make actually I figured we're going to make it wider than 5 feet, which was a good thing we did because we would have run out of metal. So we said we're going to make it so big and so wide, and I kind of calculated in metal and about how much time it would take, and about how many people we need, and about how much it would cost to do this and do this, and we did. I submitted him a proposal, and he says okay, and finally funding came through, and I figured, well, this is only going to take a day. This doesn't look bad. This is really small. We just do it in a day. I was already going to be in Tennessee. We were building this gate the week before. Oh, wait, this is what we ended up doing, sorry. So we built this gate the week before we scheduled it. We said we could just do this on a weekend between projects. This was a week-long project to build this. And then we were getting ready to leave after we did Helm's Deep. We were going to go do this gate, which was another week-long project. So we've got all the gear, we got all the stuff. We said, well, we'll just make this little side trip down to Perry County and build the gate, right? Easy, piece of cake. They said, well, we got a bunch of people lined up. Great, awesome. So we had the steel delivered there, and we'll keep going. So we ordered the steel. We figured it out, got the steel, talked to the guys, gave them the directions, the coordinates, because this is in the middle of nowhere. It's actually like this. You have this unpaved county road that you drive on for many miles to even get to the turnoff. You get to the turnoff, there's a lock gate here, and this is the only place they could drop off the steel because they got a big truck full of steel. So they dropped off the steel, and we had to get the steel from here to here. That's where the roads were, and if it wasn't for the fact that Jonathan had this new bit of road pushed back in there towards the cave entrance, we wouldn't have even gotten it that far. And once we had it there, then we had to, of course, hand carry everything across the creek and over into the sinkhole and get it down into the cave. So, whoops, go backwards again, sorry. So, here's where the steel gets dropped off. And because we didn't want to be carrying more steel, bigger pieces than we had to, we had everything cut there and then just taken down to the actual cave entrance. So a couple of people got stuck there on cutting duty. We would call up numbers periodically. They would get off their butts and get up and cut a couple pieces of steel, load them up, and shuttle them down. And then they'd go back to sitting on their butts and chit-chatting about whatever, because there wasn't a lot of activity going on. Where the activity was really going on was right here. So you can see where my truck's parked. This is where we could get the steel to that nice clearing he just had made and planted. And then we had to, you know, like you say, hand carry everything and then start getting it down into the cave. Now you see the big creek and all this stuff. Everything had to go down into the cave, not just the steel. So we've seen a bunch of pictures of the entrance in Jim's talk and other talks. So over here again, this is where the truck is, way over here. And there's the entrance. This is the high side where people most used to normally rappel. And down in here is that climb-in entrance that Jim told us about. That it's not a walk-in entrance, and he calls it a horizontal entrance. It's not very horizontal, actually. it is a scramble and a free climb down. I'll show you a little more of this. But this is basically some of the rigging, and the rigging went through 2 or 3 iterations before Rachel was finally satisfied with it. But we got it, and it was safe, and it worked. It was difficult to get the steel from up there, out to there, and then down. And here is that horizontal entrance that we're climbing down in, starting to carry a little bit of gear down with us. And here is, again, the high line coming in, stuff here. There's Rachel down at the lip tending. You couldn't just lower stuff because it's not a free drop. It goes down and it almost immediately hits breakdown, and there's just this big, steep, wet, sloppy, muddy, wet, sloppy, I'll keep repeating that, slope coming down. So there's from the old map, this is what the entrance slopes like, and like remember from the beginning talk that Michael gave, you know, the lead is about here somewhere. It's about 1/3 of the way down. And this is what it looks like. Here we are down on the breakdown slope looking up. Well, that picture got rotated. It was straight in my program. So both of those got rotated. How did that happen? I'm so sorry. If you crane your neck really hard to the right, you can kind of see what's going on. They are distorted. That is bizarre. Okay, here's better. And so you're looking up this really steep breakdown slope. You can see our cables and stuff coming in above here. We're trying to keep them out of the traffic zone. You see all the water raining down on us. And we are going to be bringing a piece of steel in here. So I've got a little video, if it plays. Where's it? No. Ah! Don't do that to me. Come on. All right, that is not going to play, is it? You should just click it and it should just play. Now you're shrinking it? Sorry, I got a really nice video here for y'all. Really, okay. Well, that was the fun part of the whole presentation right there.
You'll be doing sound effects here.
Oh, hell.
It'll be okay, Jim.
Okay, well, we don't have proof. Anyhow, imagine a bunch of people saying, tension on the eye line, slack, pull, and you hear clank, 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 clank. Okay, I'm doing sound effects.
That's doing great, man.
Clank, 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 bang, hold! You know, and then, you know, so you get a person up here standing, grabbing the metal, and then you got to kind of lift it up over a bunch of stuff while somebody's putting tension on a tag line at the bottom, trying to, you know, lift, and then it's going down more and more and more and more and more. And this whole process takes about an hour or so for each piece of metal coming in. It's a really long, slow process. And so we started fairly early in the morning, but this whole cave gate took, okay, now it doesn't even want to advance. Damn it. Okay. Backwards, forward.
That is so weird.
Let's go. I don't know what's happening on my program. I don't put bells and whistles in, but it did have one animation, and now it's not projecting anymore. No, it was back there. It was this slide. Anyhow, yeah, you see the little star. That was the only one. I don't know.
We'll try to get.
Other animations played.
Yeah, there's some issue here. They messed with the computer over the break. I can't see that up here.
No, it's a slide off. Anyhow, so keep talking, man. So we have to get it down this slope. So it's what is it? Close to 100 feet from the top of the pit. No, it's more than that. Top of the pit down to where the crawl thing. Something like that. So then we get it down there. Then we have to wrestle it sideways, pick it up, and sort of like lift and lower, lift and lower, lift and lower to get it into the crawlway. And then we get through the crawlway. We're beyond that.
We're working now.
Yeah, that was the video. Sorry, I should have just thrown it as a video. Okay, let's stay on that slide. Keep going. So then we get into the crawlway where the actual gate's going to be. And it starts out, it's kind of a little stoop way, but after a while, it's just a little too low to comfortably stoop. And it's mud. You can see, you know, there's knee tracks through the mud already. And like they mentioned, it is the stickiest mud that you have ever run into. I still have mud on a lot of my gear that was in the cave. To this day, I'm still trying to clean stuff off. But the top part was kind of dried out. There was kind of a little crust, and it was okay as long as that crust was there. But as soon as that crust got removed, forget it. You know, it was all over the place. Oh, backwards. So we get this big old piece of expanded metal grating into the cave. Here we are, you know, pulling it back into the crawlway. We got a few tools laying around and so on. There's not a lot of space. All right. We have to get it fit into the wall. So we have the little cutting torches down there. We're cutting the corners, trimming it, you know, getting it nice and beautiful. It was awesome. We're not that muddy yet. This is early in the day. And as things progress, though, you can see there's mud on the grating. There's mud on us. There's mud on my welder's getting muddy. This is Lydia. She's awesome. There's mud on all the steel because it's had to be dragged through this. So she's welding mud to mud. Luckily, she's a phenomenal welder. She can do this. And the gate slowly started taking shape. We've got a couple columns in. We're starting to put some stiffeners in some bars, getting them ready. And you know, here's a close-up of Lydia, but check out the bar. I mean, just look at it. There's gobs of mud just hanging from it. There's mud on our helmets. There's mud on our glove. Everything is covered with mud. Every time you touch something, it gets covered with mud. And it just got worse and worse throughout the day. Finally, we get the gate about finished. We put the lockbox on to protect the padlock. And we end up with a more or less finished back gate. So here's the final looking thing. Tools covered with mud, everything. Look, I mean, usually I love taking pictures of the finished gate. They're all nice and shiny until the rust starts kicking in and they look more natural here. This is pre-mudded, so this already is part of the cave. It's, you know. But you can see how the mud in the front of the gate is churned up more and more, and we're just slimed. It's not a wet mud, but it's a sticky mud. And here we are, we're starting to demobilize, get everything out. Those couple little knee tracks are now big trenches, and you know, we were trying to pull rocks out of the way that we kept hitting with our knees so we wouldn't bang ourselves anymore. And we're just taking everything out, packing the truck up, use mud tracks, everything. I get cables covered in mud. In fact, Hal Love just gave me a set of welding cave leads that we had in the cave. We didn't see them because they were covered with mud and blended right in with everything. And he found them, rescued them, and washed them off for me. And I'm greatly appreciative of that, Hal. Thank you. That's how bad things work. So that's it. There's really not a lot to say about gating the cave. It was a long, long day, and then we had to drive to our next site. But I do appreciate everybody's photos that were there, and the people that helped. There was, what, about 8 of us? Something like that?
Something like that.
Michael, you remember?
Something around there.
Yeah, about 8 people. We really could have used 20. Communications was slow because we were so spread out. Even voice communications were difficult. The supply chain was slow. We needed extra people on the breakdown slope to help move things. I'm really sorry that I had a nice 4-minute video. I had spent a lot of time putting together and it didn't come out.
I'm sorry, Jim.
But that's it, and that's it. And now the cave is basically protected from
Yeah, I was going to mention that material was incredibly heavy.
The material is incredibly heavy.
80-pound piece.
It's all incredibly heavy.
Dangerous.
Dangerous, and because we're bringing it from above, you know, we had to keep people out of the fall zone. We had to like triple wrap things with slings to even hook onto our haul lines so it wouldn't accidentally slip off.
What was the purpose of the expanded metal?
That's to keep people from tunneling right under the gate and popping right back up.
Right.
So that's going to be really difficult. Now, one question you may have is, why did we put it in that little crawlway? Well, because that's the entrance to all the sensitive stuff in the cave. And it would have been a lot more difficult, more time-consuming, and more expensive to try to put a gate anywhere else. You saw the big entrance pit. It's not even a nice circular pit. It's a sloping breakdown thing, and it's just, it would have been really difficult, really expensive, and so putting it there where the connection crawl was that led to everything made the most sense. And that way the rest of the cave is still open for people that just want to go in and bop the cave, providing you ask Jonathan for permission, of course. Okay, don't go sneaking into his cave. He's been an awesome landowner, and he's out on all these surveys and doing all this stuff too. And we really appreciate the things he's done to protect this resource. This is an incredible resource, and you're going to hear a lot more about it in the upcoming talks.
So how long did it end up taking?
I think we got out of there just before dark or so, wasn't it? It was, yeah, it was. We did it in one day because that's all we had allotted was one day. We did it, and we were beat at the end of the day.
It was 2 days, Crash.
Day and a half. Okay, it was a day and a half.
He blocked one out.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm repressing a lot of the memories from this project. You know, Lydia's worked on at least 20 projects with me, and I've done 100-some cave gates. We have both looked at each other and unanimously declared this was the worst cave gate project we've ever done.
If there was any indication of large animals using the entrances,
No.
how would that change?
There was
the gates?
no animal tracks or anything going back into that part of the cave. Mesomammals, raccoons, skunks, porcupines, things like that, can pass through that gate with no trouble. But you're not going to keep out bears, okay? But you don't have bears going back in there, so it's not an issue.
Yeah, that's great. Appreciate it. Thank you, Jim.